Hello everyone, a very good morning to one and all. Welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. I'm Abhishek Singh and I welcome you all in this session where we are going to talk about a landmark event in the Indian history which had probably changed the direction of the British Empire, which was going on a downward spiral, but from this point onward it will be going upward and upwards, and basically it would replace the Marathas as the leading power in the Indian subcontinent. Yes, you heard it right, because till now we have studied about the various significant events, including the events like the Battle of Plassey, the Battle of Buxar, Treaty of Allahabad following that, as well as we have also studied about the Third Battle of Panipat. However, if we talk about this Treaty of Salbai, then this single treaty was the most crucial event in the history of the Anglo-Maratha relations. From this point onwards, the British and the Marathas, they came equal, or they came on the equal footings, sharing the common friendship for the upcoming 20 years, and thus weakening the strategic and the military position of the Marathas vis-a-vis the British company. So what are the details in this? Was it a strategic fault by the Marathas? Was it the reason because of which the Marathas started losing their ground against the British rule? We will find out all of these things in this lecture. So welcome to the session everyone. Hello Diva, very good morning and good morning to everybody. Guys, do not forget to share this session live right off your friends, because all those people who would be watching this video must be gaining some great insights about the history of the Anglo-Maratha relations. Now, so let us start and let us understand the nature of this entire lecture. However, before proceeding further, let me tell you one very important thing, that the P2I batch for all the aspiring candidates who are willing to appear in 2024 UPSC Civil Services Examination, StudyIQ is offering a comprehensive coverage in a single program that will include everything from current affairs to the test series to the foundation and advanced preparations, especially the mains residential program. So each and everything will be given to you at a very nominal cost of just rupees 29,999 rupees, given that you do not forget to use this code ASR live, okay? And let me tell you one more thing, that this batch is going to close the admissions on the 30th June. Just a couple of days are left, so do not delay it. Join quickly so that you can start your preparation right now. Now, moving to the topic. So if we talk about the Treaty of Salbai, so this Treaty of Salbai was basically a landmark event, as I told you. And why was it a landmark event? Because at a time when the Marathas were devastated completely by the Afghan forces of Ahmad Shah Abdali in 1761, after that a Peshwa whose name was Madhav Rao, he tried to rejuvenate the Maratha Empire. He tried to re-establish the supremacy of the Marathas, but unfortunately, he died in the year 1772. Unfortunately, he died in the 1772, and after that, once again the Marathas, whose biggest enemy were not anybody else, whose biggest enemy was their own fragmentation. So they started infighting, and what happened after that? After the infighting started, then there was a huge chaos in the Maratha kingdom. And let me tell you that this entire Maratha kingdom, as you can see in this map here, this entire Maratha kingdom was actually ruled by the Maratha Confederacy, consisting of the Peshwa in the Pune region, Sindhia in the Gwalior region, Holkar in the Indore region, and Bhosle in the Nagpur, whereas the Gaikwad was ruling in the Baroda region. Okay, so these five major power holders, major stakeholders in the Maratha kingdom, they were controlling the Maratha Confederacy, all right, and all of them were trying to prove their own supremacy. However, still if we talk about the position of Peshwa, this was highly respectable position among all the Maratha nobles. But the problem was that this internal rift among the Marathas, it was a direct result. It was a direct result of the struggle for the post of Peshwa. Now let me give you a brief overview that, if you remember the hierarchy of the Peshwa, so we must be able to remember that Balaji Vishwanath was the first Peshwa, followed by his son Bajirao first, followed by the successor Balaji Bajirao. Now let me tell you one thing, that Balaji Bajirao, he had two brothers. Okay, one whose name was Sadashiv Rao Bhau. Okay, Sadashiv Rao Bhau, and other one whose name was Raghunath Rao. Okay, Raghunath Rao, or also called as Raghuba. However, Balaji Bajirao, when he died in the year 1761, he was followed by his son. Okay, his son whose name was Madhav Rao. Okay, whose name was Madhav Rao. Now Madhav Rao, if you remember, he was a youngster, and he wanted to succeed. However, not just he alone, but the uncle of Madhav Rao, Raghunath Rao, also wanted to succeed as the next Peshwa. Right, wanted to succeed as the next Peshwa. However, if we talk about the actual succession, when Madhav Rao died in the year 1772, then there was a problem. What was the problem? Basically, there was a problem that a young Peshwa, a very young Peshwa, who was a minor, whose name was Narayan Rao, right? Whose name was Narayan Rao. He was claimed to be the next Peshwa. By the ministers of the court, whereas Raghunath Rao, he had declared himself as the Peshwa. Okay. Now the biggest problem was that Raghunath Rao was not supported by the court members, and therefore Narayan Rao continued as the Peshwa, but eventually he was killed. He was killed under the conspiracy hatched by Raghunath Rao. So this actually made Raghunath Rao like a villain into the eyes of the Maratha nobles. Now what happened, that after the death of Narayan Rao, there was no successor left, but still there was a young child of Madhav Rao who was called as the Narayan Madhav Rao, or basically called as the Madhav Rao II. Right. So basically he was just an infant who was claimed to be the successor of the Peshwa by the ministers, the group of ministers led by Nana Phadnavis. Now remember, in Maratha court there were two major sections. One section led by the claimant of the Peshwa throne, Raghunath Rao. Another section led by the group of the ministers led by Nanaji Phadnavis. So Nanaji Phadnavis and Raghunath Rao, these two were the major contenders. Phadnavis wanted to rule as a regent, whereas Raghunath Rao wanted to become Peshwa directly. So what happened? Basically, now at this point there was the British intervention, when Raghunath Rao, who declared himself Peshwa, but after not getting the support of the Maratha court, he decided to take the help of the Bombay governor, basically the British Bombay governor, and he promised to provide the areas of Salsette and Bassein to the British. Also, he promised to provide the share of the revenue from the areas of Salsette as well as Bharuch, right? Bharuch in Gujarat. So British, they saw it as a great opportunity of the extra revenue, as well as they also wanted to overcome the obstacle of the Maratha power. So they wanted someone who will be in the favor of the British to be seated at the throne of Peshwa. So therefore what happened? They decided to intervene into this matter. Now when they decided to intervene into this matter, what happened? Basically the British intervention that came into the form of a treaty, called as the Treaty of Surat, Now let me tell you, this Treaty of Surat, it was a direct result, it was a direct outcome of what? As I told you the preconditions, that Madhav Rao died in 1772, his younger brother Narayan Rao became the next Peshwa. After that he was replaced by Raghunath Rao, and Narayan Rao's wife gave birth to the son whose name was basically Savai Madhav Rao or Madhav Rao II, or sometimes also known as the Narayan Madhav Rao, right now. So all these events were happening. However, Raghunath Rao, who was not willing to give up his position of power, he decided to ask the help from the British under the Treaty of Surat, signed on the 6th of March 1775. Now this event led to the another significant event that was basically called as, what? That was basically called as the Treaty of Purandar, right? Treaty of Purandar. How and why will this treaty take place? So basically Surat Treaty, under which Raghunath Rao promised the British to give away the Salsette and Bassein region to the British, also from the revenue share from the Surat as well as the Bharuch region. Okay. British promised Raghunath Rao to help with the 2,500 number of the soldiers, and they in fact tried to help as well. They tried to help Raghunath Rao, but they were defeated by the Maratha forces in the month of May 1775. So when Maratha forces, they defeated the British, now the turn of Calcutta Council of the East India Company, basically the Calcutta Council of East India Company, it denied to accept the terms of Treaty of Surat, stating the reason that the Bombay Presidency or the Bombay Governor had no authority to sign any treaty without taking the approval of the Supreme Council at Calcutta. Okay, remember that this was the time period in the year 1773, when, if you remember, in the year 1773 the British had signed a regulating act or regulatory act, basically, which was making the position of Bombay and Madras, they were basically under the supremacy of the Bengal or Bengal or Fort William. So technically Warren Hastings, who was the Governor General of Bengal, the Fort William, he declined to accept the authority of the Governor of Bombay to sign any treaty on behalf of the British authorities. So he tried to enter a new treaty called as the Treaty of Purandar in the year 1776. Okay, so this Treaty of Purandar, that was signed as an agreement between Upton, right, Colonel Upton and the Minister of Pune led by Nana Fadnavis, and this Treaty of Purandar was basically signed on the 1st of March 1776. Okay, so under this particular treaty, what happened? That Raghunath Rao was pensioned and his cause was abandoned. That means British decided to just give up the claim to make Raghunath Rao as the new Peshwa. British accepted the infant Peshwa, who was basically Savai Madhav Rao. They accepted that this infant Peshwa, served by Nana Fadnavis as the regent, he will be considered officially as the Peshwa of the Maratha kingdom. Okay, so they basically declined the claim of Raghunath Rao. Now Raghunath Rao was completely devastated. Remember that he was waiting since the third battle of Panipat, because after that the incumbent Peshwa died and Raghunath Rao was just a younger brother of that incumbent Peshwa Balaji Baji Rao. So he wanted to become Peshwa since the third battle of Panipat. But now in the 1776, when 15 years have passed and Raghunath Rao could not become Peshwa, he became restless. And he prompted the Bombay presidency to decline the acceptance of this new treaty of Purandar. And remember, once again, this time he offered a bigger bribe to the governor of Bombay and said that we will be providing you the entire revenue of the Surat and Bharuch along with the Salsette and Bassein. Okay. So all the revenue would be given to East India Company as per the promise of Raghunath Rao. Just one condition, that Raghunath Rao should be made Peshwa. Okay. So what happened, that East India Company, the Bombay branch of that, they declined to accept the Treaty of Purandar and decided to attack the Marathas. Got it, everyone? So what happened? After the decision was taken to attack the Marathas, particularly led by Nanaji Pharnavis, Raghunath Rao and his personal supporters also joined the army of the Bombay presidency and decided to invade the Marathas. However, when we talk about this particular invasion, this was met with a stiff resistance by the Marathas. And remember that Marathas were not that much weak. They were very strong even at that point of time. They had very capable forces in the form of the light cavalries. And this was the time when the British, they had accumulated sufficient strength. But they were nowhere closer to the Marathas as far as the brute strength was concerned. So what happened? Basically, this battle initiated because of two reasons. The first reason, that is the Bombay presidency, it was insecure of the permission granted to the French to use the seaport on the western coast of India, and that permission was granted by the Council of Ministers led by Nanaji Pharnavis. So Bombay presidency wing that wanted to attack the Marathas, first point. Second point, that Bombay presidency was offered a very lucrative deal by Raghunath Rao, and therefore it wanted to encash that deal and wanted to secure higher revenue percentage. So these two reasons prompted Colonel Egerton. Basically, he led the forces to invade the Marathas, but once again, the Marathas defeated the British very badly. And that was the Battle of Vadgaon. That was the Battle of Vadgaon, took place in 1779. And in this battle, what happened? In this battle, Marathas won decisively. But now, let me just come back to that point of this topic, okay? But this was the biggest strategic fault committed by the Marathas, that they allowed the British army to retreat. And this retreat gave them the enough time to be reinforced by the forces coming from the north, coming from the east, and therefore now they were in a much bigger strength. They were in a better position as compared to their battle position at Vadgaon. So what happened? In the Vadgaon, they had surrendered and they were forced to sign the Treaty of Vadgaon on the 16th January 1779. This was a clear-cut victory for the Marathas, but Marathas lost the won battle in the treaty itself. Remember, it is always a case that the victory is not over until it is complete. The victory is not over until it is complete. You cannot claim that you have cleared the civil services examination until and unless the final merit list is out. Sometimes you have got good marks in the mains, you have got good marks in the interview, but still you are put on the waiting list. That's also possible. Marathas had won the battle at Vadgaon. They had defeated the British at the Bhorghat. They had won the battles at the Karla. However, they could not publish their battle result into the final treaty, where they were completely overshadowed by the British strategies, and this was a major fault that Marathas committed by providing the time to retreat to the British, and they were reinforced. So what was the output? What was the output of this? After that, the British, they were enraged because the Warren Hastings, the Governor General of the Bengal, Warren Hastings, he completely denied to accept the terms and conditions of the Treaty of Vadgaon because they were humiliating. And at the same time, once again, Warren Hastings said that the Bombay Presidency has got no authority to sign any treaty on behalf of the British Empire, British East India Company. So ultimately, what happened? Another effort of the British started to overpower the Marathas. Now remember, the British they defeated the commander of the Maratha forces, Mahatji Scindia. Okay, Mahatji Scindia, and Scindia, he had realized one thing, that the British forces, they were now too much to be matched at the skill level or at the artillery level or at any strategic level in the battle. So Scindia, he decided to undersign a treaty with Warren Hastings at a new condition, on the new terms. And basically under the new terms, the company retained the control of the Salsette and Bharuch and acquired the guarantees that the Marathas would defeat Hyder Ali of Mysore and retake the territories in the Karnataka. So Marathas, they were actually persuaded by the British to fight on the behalf of the British under the name of the friendship against the Indian power of Mysore, which was led by Hyder Ali. Hyder Ali, he was the Sena Karta, or the chief commander of the Mysore, and repeatedly faced the attacks of the Marathas. So basically, British trusted Marathas that they will be defeating Mysore, and later on, once the term of this treaty will be over, then we will be defeating Marathas, right? And therefore Mysore will be killed and Marathas will be killed, and the entire Deccan region will be liberated from the Indian powers, and the British will become the masters of this entire region. Now this was their complete strategy, their complete planning. Marathas, despite having the capable commanders like Mahatji Scindia, Nanaji Phadnavis, etc., they could not understand this strategic mistake which they were committing, and therefore what was the result? They underwent such a great fault that was not repairable at any moment of time in future. What was that? Basically, Marathas guaranteed that the French would be prohibited from the establishment of any settlements in their territories, and at the same time British agreed to pension of their protege Raghunath Rao and acknowledged Madhav Rao II, or Savai Madhav Rao, as the Peshwa of the Maratha Empire. British also recognized the territorial claims of the Mahatji Sinde west of the Jamuna river, and all the territories occupied by British after the Treaty of Purandar were given back to the Marathas. Now, let me tell you one thing, guys. Basically, this treaty of Salbai, it actually sent the Marathas into oblivion. From a power who were supreme in the subcontinent, they became a power who were on the equal footings with the British. Similarly, the infight which was going on in the Maratha kingdom, that infight led to what? That infight led to the fragmentation of the Marathas confederacy, and there will be a condition after just 20 years that Peshwa, he will be at the war with Holkar, he will be at the war with Gaikwad, right? The Gaikwad and the Scindias, they will be fighting against each other. So every major Maratha power, they were fighting against each other only because in this battle, in this Treaty of Salbai, they had signed a warrant of their fragmentation, because the British diplomacy was playing over their heads, and they were unable to understand it. Got it? So that is why it could be said very conveniently that the Marathas, they committed a great strategic mistake by committing this particular treaty under the conditions of the British. Now, talking about the further details that why is this treaty significant in the history of the Anglo-Maratha relations or in the history of India particularly, because as we all know that under the spirit of the chivalry, the Marathas permitted the British to retreat to Bombay, and British historian James Douglas, he said that it was a strategic fault of the Maratha Empire. Okay? And why so? Because he completely believed that had Nana Pharnavis, who was a very powerful minister in the Pune, had he been like Napoleon or Edward, no British soldier would have survived. No British soldier would have survived. Okay? So that was the biggest mistake. Had they not permitted the British to retreat back to the Bombay, had they simply, killed the British army after the victory of the Marathas, or had they simply captured them or put them under the prison, probably there would have been the end of the story of the British expansion in India. So while going through this entire series of the important battles and treaties, I think you must have got an idea that there were several incidents in the Indian history where the British might have been pushed away from the controlling Indian territories. They might have been thrown out of the Indian subcontinent at various occasions. Somehow they perished and somehow they survived. This entire sequence of the detrimental strategic faults committed by the Indian leadership at several occasions in the Indian history. In fact, Dodwell remarked that the Treaty of Salbai formed a turning point in the Indian history of English supremacy, that he says that it is an exaggeration because they were facing extreme troubles after this treaty. He tries to show that British, they could not benefit much from this treaty because this was a very costly affair for the British, as well as it costed them a big opportunity to make inroads in the northern plains because their concentration was in the Deccan region, right? So we can say that different historians had the different opinion about this treaty, but one thing is definitely clear, that this treaty surely led the path clearly for the British supremacy in the upcoming years from 1782 onwards. Alright everyone, so I hope that this session must be clear to all of you, and you all must have enjoyed learning this new session. In fact, in the tomorrow's lecture, we will be talking about another treaty which defined the Indian history in the modern times. But before that, let me tell all of you that we are starting a new batch. In fact, we have started already on the 19th of June, as we are all aware, but only 2 days are left. Just 2 days are left now to get yourself enrolled in this prelims to interview batch, which is very, very special because it provides you the comprehensive preparation, completing your prelims examination, mains examination. It covers your current affairs program, everything, including the test series and etc. So if you want to have this one-stop solution, just you have to get yourself enrolled in this P2I batch using this code ASR Live, which will give you the maximum benefit at the most convenient cost of rupees 29,999 rupees, right? So in this much cost, you are going to get an opportunity not just to make your prelims clear, but also to stay at Delhi at the cost of StudyIQ, to prepare for your mains examination and to get the guidance for the interview as well. So guys, what is the delay for? Now just get yourself enrolled and let's meet tomorrow in the next class. Till then, take care guys, bye-bye, and have a great day ahead. And if you want to have this PPT of this particular session, so let me tell you that you can get the PPT of this particular session joining my Telegram channel. Alright, and basically my Telegram channel can be joined at this particular address at the rate Abhishek Singh sir PO. Alright everyone, so thank you so much for watching it. Take care, bye-bye, and have a great day ahead. Jai Hind.